Good afternoon and welcome to Matador News. I'm Jasmine Vaughn.
And I'm Merrita, Llarena.
More than 100 people are reported missing after a landslide in Washington state. Search officials confirm at least 14 were killed. Heavy rain caused a landslide along State Route 530. 1 square mile of debris is left where trees and vegetation once grew. Officials say there is little hope of finding anyone else alive.
We as a county are beginning to realize, much like you are, the realization that we are moving towards a recovery operation.
The area is still unsafe, and the search will be further complicated by heavy rain that's expected later today.
A new report from the Health World Organization says that air pollution kills about 7 million people worldwide every year. More than half of the fatalities are due to fumes from indoor stoves. The agency says that air pollution has now become the single biggest environmental health risk. Scientists suspect air pollution may be to blame for inflammation in the heart, leading to chronic problems or heart attacks. One expert said people could reduce their individual exposure to fumes by avoiding traveling at rush hour or by taking smaller roads.
Construction has begun on a $350 million Westfield Village at Topanga. The development will be an open environment mall that sits between the Topanga and Promenade malls. More than 200 people attended groundbreaking ceremonies yesterday. The project will create nearly 1,500 jobs and nearly 100 businesses, including boutiques and restaurants.
It's been unseasonably warm and dry in California this month, enough to have experts doubt that drought relief is near. If conditions continue, short-term fixes to conserve water will need to evolve into long-term solutions. Nikki Edenedo is in the studio with a guest to talk more about the issue.
Thanks, Merrita. We're here today with the Senior Director of CSUN's Physical Plant Management, Jason Wang, and he's going to tell us what kind of drought relief measures CSUN is taking and what students can do to get involved. So Jason, can you tell us what CSUN is doing to conserve water on campus?
Absolutely. CSUN uses about 290 million gallons of water a year. It's a lot of water, and it's spread out into 3 main areas. The first is the campus core, the second is for irrigation, and the third is in housing. And of that total volume of water that's used, about 80% of it is used on the campus. And of that split, about half of it ends up in irrigation, and then only about 25% is used in housing. So we're looking at key areas, and those the 3 key purposes or processes that we can do in those 3 areas to help.
Okay. Can you tell us what sort of system PPM has in place that conserves and recycles water?
Yeah, we're looking primarily at irrigation, because that's the biggest area of our water use. And what we've done is we connected in 2009 a controller that monitors humidity, air temperature, wind, and then adjusts the amount of water that happens. We're also looking at several drought-tolerant plants to reduce the water use, and anywhere that we don't need grass, we're trying to find a way to replace it with drought-tolerant plants. Housing has already begun doing extensive work in replacing all of their high-flow toilets and water fixtures to low-use fixtures. And then around campus, we're doing the same thing in every area possible, including installation of waterless urinals around campus. We have about 260 of them installed currently.
Okay. And lastly, what kind of eco-friendly facilities does CSUN currently have that's accessible to students?
We have 2 LEED Gold facilities, the Valley Performing Arts Center, which has increased our water use, as well as the Student Recreation Center, that are known for using a lot less water than similar facilities. So that's an added bonus. And then we are looking at trying some very experimental areas. If you've been north of University Hall, you'll notice that there's kind of that desert garden area. We're testing plants there for installation around campus so that it still looks nice, yet uses little or no water.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you so much, Jason, for speaking with us about this.
Sure.
Back to you guys in the studio.
Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 disappeared more than 2 weeks ago, and the search continues. China has released a new satellite image of what appears to be a large floating object in the southern Indian Ocean. The object was about 77 miles from the spot, while Australian satellite also captured objects that could be from the missing plane. Experts are questioning the 74 feet by 43 feet.
It actually looks to be too big to be part of the airplane. There's no part of the airplane that's that wide.
Malaysia Airlines sent a text to family members informing them of no survivors. Malaysia Airlines is offering $5,000 to families of the victims.
Egypt has sentenced 529 Muslim Brotherhood supporters to death. The court's final verdicts will be announced April 28th. The sentences come after a police officer was murdered during the riots by supporters of former Islamist President Mohamed Morsi. One lawyer representing some of those sentenced said he would appeal.
President Obama and other world leaders have ousted Russia from the upcoming G8 summit. The action comes after Russia's annexation of Crimea. The G8 summit was scheduled for Sochi in June and is now off. The G8-7 is now known will be held at a place and date to be determined. President Obama spoke at The Hague yesterday.
America are united in our support of the Ukrainian government and the Ukrainian people. We're united in imposing a cost on Russia for its actions so far.
Other possible sanctions the U.S. and the other G7 countries are considering against Russia include sanctions in banking, energy, and defense.
The Obama administration is preparing legislation that would end the National Security Agency's widespread collection of phone data. Officials say this legislation will allow data about phone calls made to and from Americans to be kept at home at phone companies. The proposal is still in progress. It would require phone companies to provide data about suspected terrorist numbers. Phone companies will not be required to hold data longer than they normally would.
CSUN has developed the nation's first student peace club. The organization's president is Victor Camon. The peace program helps participants discover their own inner strength and personal peace. Earlier this semester, more than 80 students signed up to be a part of the club. Their meetings are held Wednesdays and Sundays.
A Van Nuys jury has found a 27-year-old Burbank man guilty of murdering his on-again, off-again girlfriend. The defendant, Stephen Juneo Jr., fatally stabbed Patrina Sabella in the neck 19 times at a Studio City park earlier last year. Prosecutors have video surveillance of the two buying coffee in Hollywood shortly before her death. They also cited text messages showing the couple had plans to meet up later that day.
All southbound lanes of the 5 freeway in Sun Valley have reopened after being shut down last night. A fatal collision as well as scheduled maintenance kept the freeway closed. Police say victim was running across the freeway when he was struck by a vehicle traveling 65 miles per hour. Authorities say the victim was fleeing the scene of an accident.
Authorities are investigating the death of a gunman who wounded a police officer in the shootout in the Hollywood Hills. The female officer is in good condition after being hit in the arm and face by wood fragments yesterday. The coroner's office will decide whether the gunman was killed by officers or committed suicide. A federal judge in San Diego has sentenced a California border officer to 7.5 years in federal prison for helping smugglers. The defendant, Lauren Hammer Jones, helped bring marijuana and undocumented immigrants into the U.S. for a decade. He received as much as $500,000 from smugglers. Jones's involvement became known when a van stuffed with 4 tons of marijuana was detected at the San Ysidro crossing by another inspector.
Walgreens says it will close 76 unprofitable stores around the country in the second half of this year. Walgreens did not specify which stores will close. The closures are expected to boost Walgreens' operating income by $50 million a year.
A new study says student debt has increased 43% over the past decade for students who attend graduate school. Graduates borrowed around $58,000 in 2012. That debt is outpacing all other loans except mortgages. The study also says students are obtaining graduate degrees that don't lead to higher salaries.
Potential Associated Student presidents are now holding debates before the election. Student communication and solidarity were main issues at the presidential debate yesterday in the Flitwick Room. Presidential candidates Jesus Martinez Ramirez and Tiffany Zike both emphasized an awareness of programs on campus. Candidate Martinez Ramirez says he hopes more students will vote this semester. Voting will begin April 1st at 8 a.m. and will close on April 2nd at 6 p.m. And now here with sports, Lupe Quintero.
Thank you, Jasmine. The ladies Matadors fell short in the first round of the NCAA tournament with a 73-58 loss to the South Carolina Gamecocks. CSUN fell behind shortly after tip-off but managed to stay close to the Gamecocks throughout the first half. But at the beginning of the second half, junior guard Ashley Guay suffered an injury and had to sit out for the remainder of the game. Northridge pushed to within 6 points in the last 3 minutes, but were unable to get any closer. Overall, the Matadors had a successful season. They won the Big West Conference title for the first time, and they qualified for only the second time in school history for a trip to the NCAA tournament. The season's women's water polo team defeated Cal Lutheran 22-8 last week. The win was CSUN's 9th straight. The Matadors also tied a school record for goals in a game. 13 different Matadors scored. The 7th-ranked Matadors are scheduled to play on Saturday at Cal Poly. The CSUN baseball team has won its second game in a row, defeating Washington State 2-1. In the second inning, third baseman Nicholas Osuna walked, and catcher Dylan Alexander drove him home with a triple to tie the score at 1-1. The next batter, first baseman William Colotano, singled up the middle, and the Matadors the lead and eventually the margin of victory. CSUN pitcher Brandon Warner was awarded the win, and Shea Maltese earned a save. The Matadors return home for a 3-game series against Long Beach State that begins Friday. The NCAA committee reseeded the 16 teams left in the March Madness tournament. California fans have a lot to cheer for as San Diego State, Stanford, and UCLA remain in the tournament. Number 4, San Diego State faces the top-seeded Arizona Wildcats in Anaheim in the West region. UCLA will face number 1 seed Florida and Memphis in the South region. The bracket-bustling number 2 seeded Stanford Cardinals will face the other big sleeper, number 4 Dayton, also in Memphis. Coverage of the Sweet 16 begins Thursday and continues throughout the weekend. The championship game will be in Arlington, Texas on April 7th. The Lakers will host the Knicks at the Staples Center tonight. This will be their first meeting since New York hired former Los Angeles coach Phil Jackson as team president. Jackson would not be attending the game. The Knicks are still battling for a playoff spot. The Lakers are out for contention for the playoffs. And that's it for sports. Back to you, Merrita.
Thanks, Lupe. It's a beautiful day here at CSUN. Today's weather will be in the low 70s. The weather will stay in the low to mid-70s throughout the week with a 20% chance of rain tomorrow. A Tennessee juvenile judge, Harold Hawthorne, has jailed TV judge Joe Brown in contempt charges. Brown was jailed for 5 days after he became what was described as pretty raucous and after he challenged authority. Brown was in court representing a client in a child support case. He apparently became upset after he was told the case was not on the afternoon docket. Horn gave Brown several chances to calm down before finding him in contempt. Vogue magazine premiered its April cover with the infamous Kim Kardashian and Kanye West gracing the cover, and a lot of Vogue readers are upset. The cover shows the couple in wedding attire with the hashtag world most talked about couple picture, or below their picture. The shoot took place in Los Angeles. Inside the magazine, there are shots featuring the couple's 9-month-old daughter, Northwest. Many celebrities have tweeted their disapproval of the cover, and the hashtag boycott Vogue is trending on Twitter.
The co-stars of That 70s Show, Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, are reportedly expecting a baby. The couple is also rumored to be engaged. Reps for the stars have not commented on the engagement or baby reports. However, the couple has made no attempts at hiding their status. Kunis flashed her large diamond when the couple was caught on the kiss cam at the Clippers game Saturday.
And that's all for the afternoon edition of Matador News. I'm Merrita Llarena.
And I'm Jasmine Vaughn. Have a wonderful day, Northridge.